Yes, this is Audio Mullet. We will not smash you in the face. Our audio might. This is Michael J. Nelson along with Doug TenNapel. Doug, how are you?
I'm good.
And, of course, Ethan Nicolle. Ethan, howdy.
Great. I mean, hi, I'm good. You didn't say how are you. I thought you were going to say how are you.
Oh, man, you had the answer all loaded up.
It's ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you ever do
that's
that
like
to
my greatest fear. My greatest fear is answering questions wrong.
Oh, see, that's a smooth transition. That's radio transition.
I had this other fear too. It's like I had this little black and white TV in my bedroom, and one time I saw this commercial, and there are two guys fighting each other, and they have their swords are made of light.
Oh God. Doug.
My jaw dropped open.
This is, we're going to have to deal with Doug's obsession with our not liking his beloved, precious little Pretty Pony, or what's it called? Star Wars, Pretty Pony, Pony Time, or some, I don't know. It's some kid's show that he loves. And
I can tell you a story about, I got a better story though. It's this one time I farted. Oh man,
we should do the whole episode of fart stories, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh man, I will say that once, when you talk about, so you said the wrong word. Once when I was at a haircut, I had a woman who, the second time I got a haircut from her, she was a lovely young woman. I didn't like her haircut, but she had a lisp that was as bad as Elmer Fudd. I mean, it was so over the top, and I couldn't. I couldn't understand her. She would say, what kind of soap do you want? I'm not going to try to imitate her because it'll sound stupid and insulting. It was.
Wait, but Elmer Fudd didn't have the lisp. You're misguided.
I think
it's Daffy Duck.
Okay, it was
or Sylvester.
You're right. It was more like, yes, it was a cross between Daffy Duck and Sylvester.
So it's like soap.
It was, yes. I couldn't understand the beginning of words, and it was so pronounced, and I felt terrible. But when I saw her, giving my second haircut, I went, like you do the shit, which I felt bad about, and I think she saw. But then she asked me at the end of it, she repeated, I think it was, are you all set, or do you like it, something like that. But I couldn't even understand that. So at the third time she said it, I went, what? What are you saying? And she started crying. I just felt awful, but it was I wasn't, and I realized I wasn't saying the what are you saying? I was actually trying to get I didn't want to prolong this embarrassment and my frustration. So anyway, she thought I was angry and she cried, and I just I handed her the money and walked out and went, "Oh, I feel awful. This is the worst."
And you'd think someone with a lisp would not make 90% of their vocabulary be S words. It's they're not going to make it easy on you.
It was terrible. Anyway, this podcast, we talk about things that are unfashionable, often about manhood, a lot of times, unfortunately, about Star Wars, which is very unfashionable, and I hope it stays that way. Yeah, and we talk about Doug going to the gym and farting, a word I hate to say, but there it is. That's half the show so far. But today we have a big topic. Ethan, why don't you introduce it?
Okay, I guess this topic is fear. We basically wrote out this giant list of topics when we decided to do this podcast, and one of them, it just said fears on there, and I don't know who wrote that on there, but I put it on the list, and I think it was Doug, but I don't know. So
sure,
we'll talk about fears.
Greatest fears. Sure.
Doug, what are you trying to get at? Yeah. What are our greatest fears?
I just think it's interesting to hear you. I think you learn a lot about someone when you hear their greatest fears. Don't you think?
I do too. Yes, of course. Yeah, I think it's a good topic. I'm not knocking on this topic.
Yeah, I'm not
against
it. I'm more like the motivation behind why did you want to talk about it? I feel like if you thought of it, then I'd like to hear you set it up.
Okay. Well, I don't remember coming up with it, but I'll take a stab at it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about our greatest fear. It seems like you can learn a lot from someone by what they're afraid of. I think fear motivates us in our day-to-day life a lot of times. I'm afraid of being homeless, so I have to get some work done. I have to make some cheddar. Or I fear loneliness, so I make lots of friends, for example. So we're going to talk about our greatest fears. We're going to start with Ethan. Ethan, go back into the recesses of your mind and tell us what is it that haunts you?
Ooh, wow.
I don't think that I'm a guy that doesn't have fears, but I think I do have. I think that they're so entrenched in me that I won't even admit they're there.
Yeah.
But like,
you're just a ball of fear.
You're
too afraid to admit it.
afraid to share your fears.
Yeah, but I don't have conventional ones. Like I don't, like we went and saw Paranormal Activity together, and I was so bored to the whole thing, and Doug was like shaking in his chair and wanted to like leave.
Yeah, I was crawling up Hugh, who was sitting between us. I was crawling right up him. I was so terrified.
Of Paranormal Activity?
Come on.
Terrible movie that in San Diego, that one?
First of all,
people thought it was
say
scary.
That terrible movie because you think all movies are terrible.
I can name at least 2 good movies off the top of my head. So
that were made in the last 5 years.
Oh, no, then I can't. All right, but anyway, go ahead.
I think my greatest fear does come down to failure. I think it's like that gnawing feeling that like every project I'm working on is going to be the big failure. I think that even because Axe Cop has been my biggest success so far, and it's basically passed, and I think that actually added to the fear of like, I think that I had this idea that I'd be able to like hit a stride or something, and I think
move
that
seamlessly into
so
the next
fickle.
thing.
Like
find
rest.
rest.
In this industry that I work in is so fickle, and I think it's very connected to my family too. Like I'm horrified of like failing my wife and failing my kids, and also like an imposter syndrome, like the feeling that like I never had it. I don't have whatever it takes to be this, to pull off the jokes or to pull off the writing or the art. Like I'm not as good as other artists. I'm not as good at writing as other writers. I'm a fraud, and I should give up. Like,
well, that's true. That's true of all of us in entertainment, though.
I think it is, and I think I'm realizing more. I realize, like in some of the arguments I get in with my wife, where I'm actually realize I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to her. I think that, like out of one side of my mouth, I'll be saying I think she's not taking my work seriously, and I realize I'm not. Like I have this fear of that I suck and that I'm not serious, that I never became a man, and I just like kept playing with drawing, and I think that's my fear.
Oh, but I have, that's also kind of universal in the arts, is the thing you have to convince other people that you actually have a real job. Like my parents or my wife, it's like it's so easy even for me to forget. I'm like, well, I think I'll sit on the couch all day and watch Netflix. It's like you're sitting there disrespecting yourself, saying like, I don't really believe that I have a job when you do something like that. So I just think that's part of why you have to be disciplined, I think, to get into the business of entertainment, because it's so not like a job. If you treat it that way, it magically will not be a job. It'll just be something you goof around with.
Yeah, and Doug, that's not your greatest fear. Your greatest fear is that's terrible movies from 1997 or whatever that was.
1977. No. Because actually I don't have that big of a fear of, and the one who really relieved that fear of failure was Angie. Because she married me back when I was a fine artist, which actually makes Hollywood look legit, the pursuit of Hollywood look legit, that she always assumed that we'd be living out of a car. So just that I've gotten the success I have, I feel like I don't really fear failure in not that much in career. And you can come up with the greatest idea in the world and no one will like it. And you to educate Hollywood or video games or comics as to what's actually good, that's a losing enterprise. My biggest fear, if I had a number one, it would be a fear of the dark. So this is something
really.
Oh, absolutely.
This is true. I've shared hotel rooms with Doug. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Fear of the dark. So do you leave a light on? Do you?
No.
You just sit there. You're just always in terror. The night comes and you're. Where did the big yellow ball
he
go?
Needs somebody there.
Yeah.
Can I talk about Banff?
Yeah, go ahead, because Ethan has close friends who have shared the hotel with me, know firsthand, but when they're not there, right, they don't see it. But I am absolutely horrified when I'm alone and in the dark. There's always some level of fear.
So we got to go on this amazing retreat with Calgary Comic Con. They took all the special guests got to go out to Banff, which is this beautiful area of Canada, this resort, and we got this huge room with super high ceilings, and there's 2 different master bedrooms on either side of this giant suite. It was really nice. It was crazy, and we were sharing the room with this other couple. I don't know if we should say their names or not, just in case, but it was this nice little couple. They were artists for one of the publishers, and I thought it was. And then they were with me and Doug, which we're just in total bro mode, fart jokes and being annoying. And I felt so bad because they're this
more than
nice,
just fart jokes.
Yeah,
yeah, we know that now. Yeah,
yeah, straight up, just
we
ripping.
were laying tread.
I could see in this man's wife's eyes that she was not excited about sharing a room with us. So later in the evening,
and we were thrilled.
Yeah, it was awkward. It was really awkward.
I feel like a third wheel here.
Yeah. So at some point, the woman's like, "We found some weird stain in our bed," and
oh yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And so they complained, and
blood.
then they basically said,
blood.
and they got it. Oh, it was blood. Yeah,
it was blood stain.
Yeah, and so
Tell me.
refused to even get into they wanted a different room. Basically, it was they wouldn't even change sheets. So they ended up oh yeah, we got a different room. So we're just gonna. So me and you end up getting this massive suite with 2 giant bedrooms on either side, and our bedroom had 2 beds in it. But I was like, well, I might as well take the big one over there, right? Because then I get my own TV, and I remember the look in your eyes, when you realized that I was gonna leave you and you're gonna be all alone in that dark room, where are you going? It's just deer in headlights.
And Ethan gave me the what's wrong with this guy look.
Wow. So did you, I assume, you went to the other room. Doug, were you terrified?
Yeah, and I wasn't even afraid of the blood.
Yeah. He said he would rather lay in blood bed than be in a room with me.
I couldn't even find it. I remember looking through it. She's like, where the hell's the blood? I don't see any blood.
You guys, I think they made up the story of the blood on the to get away from you guys.
That makes a lot of sense because I never remember even seeing blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was okay with Ethan going over. I wasn't okay with it, but I just, all night long was waiting for just the paper white specter to just float down on me all night.
Is that an ongoing fear of yours? Is a specter? That's what the darkness that you fear? No. Is that a specter will come? No, what will the specter do to you?
Here's what's weird. This. If I had to get down to the roots of the fear, because I've analyzed this forever, and it's one of those things where it kind of gave me confidence to never trust my feelings or you know what I mean? It made me more of a skeptic because I can rationally, I know that nothing is happening, but it doesn't do any good to assuage my feelings. Right. So it's why I really don't take my own feelings that seriously, nor anyone else's. But it's the fear. If I had to narrow it down, it would be that when no one is there to see this happen, that all of the rules of normality can be broken by some living being. As if I know it's weird, but so it could be and it will burst out in different ways in different situations when I'm alone. It might be I fear that suddenly I'll just hear a voice next to me, or I'll fear that I'll turn and there'll be someone looking back at me who is not supposed to be in the room, or I'll fear that there'll just be a dark shadow at the other end of the room or something like that. It'll be something spooky like that and because my mind is creative, it can come up with anything. It's a curse. It comes up with it. My mind knows what I am perfectly afraid of at that time, and it will present it to me and say, "You're probably afraid of this, huh?"
If only there was some way to control your own thoughts and your mind.
Whiskey works. Just get wasted before you go to bed.
Wow. So, and no amount of your own rationality. Do you say prayers? Do you have a ritual to overcome this fear?
No, I'm constantly
you
in
just
prayer.
deal with it. You just live with it. It's
I
like
just
my
dismiss
headache. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but your headache is real. I dismiss this, and the fear's real, but whatever I'm afraid of is not real, and I know it's not real. But there's this fear as if it's real, and I just have to live with that. And I just go, "That's the way it is. You're afraid right now, and you have to deal with that." And that's kind of the events of the night. And I'll sit there in terror until I go to sleep.
Wow! And is that every night?
Only when I'm alone and it's dark.
Oh, so specters don't come to two people? That your imagination can't come up with the thing that will like gobble up Angie and then kill you?
Nope, never.
Really?
Never.
So
never
she's like your
people.
she's your knight in shining armor.
Or Ethan.
Or me, yeah.
But it's
Until he
it's
deserted
because
you,
it's
like
because
a
when there's
false
another
friend.
witness, the rules of the universe can't be broken if there's another witness there. So it's part of it is the frustration of if no one's looking, all of this is going to fall apart as if my presence here isn't enough to hold it together. It's very strange, but it's very there, and it's been that way since I can remember.
Man, you're messed up, man.
Yeah. I'm glad thanks for, I'm glad I
Hey,
shared.
if you think about it, your fear is as irrational as mine is.
Yeah.
I actually think, your fear is somewhat rational. I mean, everybody's been, being afraid of the dark is, yeah. I mean, that's pretty
classic.
It's classic. Yeah. The fact that you haven't got rid of it, like you haven't gotten rid of your love of Star Wars, means you're a child, but still you are, you are within yeah, that makes sense.
Well, while many men have not gotten rid of their fear of Star Wars, I think most have gotten rid of their fear of the dark. So,
well, I don't fear Star Wars; I loathe it. So that's a different thing. So this is not my. I'll get to my own fears in a minute, but this is, I think, compelling. Is that when I was a kid, when I was pretty young, my mom died when I was like 3.5 years old. She just died in her sleep of an epileptic seizure, and my dad, who is obviously a young man himself, was suddenly stuck with 3 boys, and he did the best he could, but and I've talked about him before, a good man. I will not in any way, but he didn't bring us to the funeral or anything, so my mom just sort of disappeared, and I was left to go, what is going on? Why is that nice mom not here anymore? And one of the ways that the reactions I had to it was every night I would fall asleep and I would have a dream that a sort of just a classic like white-faced specter with a knife was walking into my room slowly out in the hallway, coming toward me. And this is like every night. And then I would wake up, I would hear the footsteps of him coming, and he would be near my bed, about to stab me through the heart, and I would go to scream, and nothing would come out of my mouth. And so then that was but it was whatever you call it, lucid dreaming or whatever. I would think that I was awake while the specter was creeping down the hall with his horrible mask and knife and going to stab me. And it's so, as I've thought about it later, it's like how at 3.5, 4, maybe to 5 that it went to, how did I come up with that? Why was I afraid of that? I had no experience of it. I certainly never saw a movie. So that's what my biggest question about that. How in God's name did I come up with this thing that I was going to be stabbed by a specter? I mean, the thing of being, crying for help and none coming makes a lot of sense. But what is the other part? You know what I mean? Like, why would that be in my brain?
I had a fairly similar. My parents lived, but my dad, my parents divorced, and my dad was gone suddenly, and we moved to a very bad city where the first thing that happened when we moved there was everything got stolen out of our car. So I felt very unsafe suddenly. I was like 8 years old, and for years I had this thing where I didn't see this thing in my room, but the moment I went out of my room, like to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, I'd see this little hunched over skeleton guy in these like tattered rags carrying like a scythe with like
Dear
weird
God.
hair, and he'd just
Oh,
start
Lord.
walking slowly towards me.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everywhere, all over the house. I just
Oh,
saw this,
man.
and I was a little kid.
Wow, no kidding.
No explanation for where it comes from.
My son had for years. I probably shouldn't. Well, it's out of the bag now.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah.
he saw things and would describe them and was in utter terror. And I had a coworker whose sister, when he grew up, had the same situation. But the parents would come in and say to this guy's sister, "There's nothing there. Stop it." And it messed her up for the rest of her life. Like, it doesn't matter if it's actually there. My parents are like, knock it off. That's just nothing. And I just, that stuck with me. So with our own son, we took it quite seriously because I saw the same thing, so it's not.
You told him there was something there.
There is something there. And then we would just sit and pray. And, it didn't make it much easier, but he at least understood. Look, I believe you. I 100% believe you because I saw the white-faced specter with the knife. But his were much different, but it was just the reaction to it. I just thought that's I don't believe this guy's parents were evil. I just believe it's so misguided to not just go, oh, man, that's awful that you're seeing this. Now let's deal with it instead of denying it. Like, I'm not making it up to just, so.
I'd be a deny guy. I'm a deny parent. If my kids came up with something like that, I'd just say, no, not real. I'm with you on empathizing with their fear, but I wouldn't give any credence to it being real.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they had to say, no, this is a real thing. Like, we didn't do that with our son. I mean, it's real to you. However, it could be, who knows? The devil is tricky. He has a lot of things. Who knows what it is? But you have nothing to fear from it because, and then we would just say prayers with him and stuff like that.
It's real to you, but you also think Democrats have a legit platform. So.
When I was that age, my parents got divorced. My dad was homeless, and he was a charismatic. He went to like a very charismatic church where they all spoke in tongues and stuff.
Charismatic homeless dad.
Yep.
Glossolalia? Is that what it's called?
Ex-opera singer.
Oh, your dad was an ex-opera singer?
You didn't know that?
He used to sing in New York.
I did not know that.
My dad was a homeless opera singer, a charismatic, so he would sing at the top of his lungs in tongues
Wow.
with a trained opera voice that could sing to entire stadiums without mics.
That is
And
fascinating.
he got asked to lead the church, but he was this homeless fisherman. But so he would like tell me that these were demonic apparitions that were being sent by the devil whenever I'd talk about this. But he had this like amazing one he's like, well, when I was a kid, this was mine. Like he said, because he lived with like 8 brothers and sisters or whatever, and he also lived in like orphanages and stuff or foster homes. He said he slept in a room with like 6 other beds or whatever. He said that there'd be this giant lumberjack that would walk into the room, and he'd walk slowly between each bed with his axe ready, and he'd look into everybody's eyes one at a time, and if your eyes are open, he'd chop your head off. And he just knew that he would. So like my dad he'd hear him coming closer and closer, looking into everybody's eyes. And the moment he got close, my dad would close his eyes real tight. He could feel the guy breathing on his neck and check in. And anyway, isn't that amazing? That's got to be in the movies.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I always thought lumberjacks were kind of jolly and nice. So
This guy, he described him as like a giant one, like a Paul Bunyan zombie or something, I think is probably what he was.
Well, that's exactly what horror is. You turn that image, you turn him into something bad, and oh, man. My own sons, I think I can get away with telling this. My one son, he claims he didn't make it up to scare his brother. He just thought that this thing existed. They shared a bedroom, and he looked out the window once, and he's like, Big Jeans is out there. Big Jeans. Isn't that a great name? And my younger son went, who's Big Jeans? He's like, he's out in the yard. I don't know. He's coming for his big jeans. So
I used to work at a buffet. That's something we'd say.
For years, we had to deal with the fears of big jeans.
Big Jeans is coming. Son, I believe you. I believe you that you believe in big jeans.
Yeah, I mean, there probably was a guy out in big jeans raking his yard at 9:30 or whatever. But what
Sounds
a
like
perfect name. I mean,
Yeah, sounds like a town in Idaho. Big Jeans, Idaho. Welcome.
but that is not my biggest fear. My biggest fear as an adult, I think, is because I have dreams about it, and I'm sure that you guys, I don't know if you have performance in your background of some kind, is that I will probably once a month have the dream of somebody just going like, hey, you got to do, remember when you did Macbeth? You got to do it again. It's about to start, so just get ready. Here's your tights, and grab this crown, and go at it, big guy. And then it's just like, it could be, the dream will last 2 hours sometimes of me just trying to go, can I just get a peek at the script again? It was many years ago since I did this. And then somebody will be like, yeah, it's over there. And then I'll dig through a shelf. It's like, it's not here.
It's
Is there
not
any?
here. Yeah.
It's like,
Why
well,
do
it
our
is
dreams-
starting in like 5 minutes. So could you? And I'm like, yeah, if I could just get a look at this. And so that happens, I swear, on the month.
This is all proof that our minds, our subconscious minds, are a-holes to us.
Yes.
It's like you came up with this. Your subconscious came up with this dream and these fears and the most frustrating thing that you can experience in Shakespeare, and it runs you through it for an hour, and it loves it because it's all like, it's going to send you over there to look for it in this box, and it's not going to be there. Before you even told me that, I knew it wouldn't be there because your subconscious is an a-hole.
Do you have what is called the actor's nightmare? I also have it about school, and I have it about working at a restaurant. So I'm sure you have some variation of it.
Well, I wouldn't call it the actor's nightmare. I'm just saying I have those kinds of nightmares that are very frustrating where something needs to be done and it will not happen. So, it really might be like someone's like, quick, get the axe. We have to get out of this room that's on fire. And the dream will be like me for an hour and a half looking for an axe in a garage full of junk. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would my mind, it likes to frustrate you. There's something about that the mind, it doesn't give you what you want or something. I don't know.
And you're calling the mind an it. So this is a brand new development that you think your mind is different from your brain or your soul. Explain, elucidate.
Well, okay, yeah, and I would like to think this through with you guys because I probably haven't quite articulated this, but a common dream that I talk about a lot is when I'm looking through another artist's sketchbooks in my dreams. I've had this dream for probably 30 years, and I'll see just the most amazing artwork and design work in there that it's in someone else's hand, and I'll wake up and I'll remember the look. And I'll draw it. And it's something where I feel like I'm trying to draw someone else's idea. Now that's my mind. And that's why I call it an it, as if it's someone else's mind or some other thing, because it doesn't make sense that I'd have that information stored in there. And for instance, I'd be flipping through a sketchbook, and as fast as I'm flipping pages, images are on those pages that appear to be complete designed illustrations in another person's hand. Like, how does that work?
Wow. Well, see, I think I brought it up before that there are composers who think that they're dictating things. They don't think that they're their ideas. They think they're from God or from some other muse or something. Ethan, do you have that experience with your own drawing, or is it always an effort and it comes from your own self?
Well, this is like a totally different topic, but I think I don't know. I feel like when the drawing's bad, I feel like it came from myself, and when it suddenly just kind of draws itself, or every once in a while you have like a piece of art that just comes to you, and then you draw it, and then it turns out. Those ones, I wonder about that.
And
I don't know, is that?
And where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I don't. That's a deep question.
Make an assessment.
That's what we do here. We talk about.
I mean, I do. I think that there's I guess I hesitate to say it about my work because I think that I draw, comics about bears killing people and stuff. But at the same time, there's a reason that, we don't just make all this stuff up out of nothing, like these fears and these images that come into us. It's hard for me to believe that we just make it up.
But you just now said that little man that was creeping up on you with the wild hair and his short.
Yeah, like did I sit and make that up? I don't. So I believe it all fits into something with
or Mike's white face thing where he'd never seen a movie of it before, and here it comes. It's like the stuff is from nothing. That's what's so weird.
I have the most insane nightmare on Earth. I don't know if you guys want to hear it, but
yeah.
Wait, I have the most insane nightmare in the world. Hey, I don't know if you guys want to hear it. Of course we want to hear it.
Of course. Come on, throw down.
We're talking scary stuff. So this is from junior high. This is, everything's scary in junior high. This is in that house. I'm hitting 11 and I'm still scared. Parents have been divorced for a couple of years, and I'm scared all the time at this point in my life. I hear people screaming outside at night, pounding on the door.
Where did you live?
They're gonna murder me. Let me in. They're gonna murder me. And then I go, who is it? And then it goes silent because it was just in my head.
What?
And see this little being everywhere. And it was just this weird period where I was scared all the time, for a few years after my parents divorced. Anyway, so it kind of culminated in this crazy nightmare. So I used to go to bed with the radio on, and so this song came on, and I always kind of found this song creepy, even though it's a stupid pop song. There's a song called Mr. Vain. It's like, I know what I want, and I want it now. I want you, because I'm Mr. Vain.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm terrified now.
Yeah, so no.
I'm scared of that. I assume that's the end of the story.
Yeah, the end.
So I wake up and I'm at this. Just trust me, this story builds. So I wake up and I'm in this tourist shop with my mom, and we're looking at records, and that song's playing over the radio. So it seems like the stupidest dream ever. She pulls a record out. I don't know why it's records, because it's cassette tapes right now in this point in history. And she's looking at this album called Mr. Train, which I'm misinterpreting the title of this song that's playing over the radio. She goes, that's weird, blah, blah, blah. This cover was weird. So I wake up in this dream. Mr. Vain is playing on my radio. That's very strange. So then I start to hear ice cream truck music down the road from my house.
Dear God.
Nothing good follows ice cream truck music.
Nothing.
Over the loudspeaker with it. And I hear kids, and it's 2 a.m. I hear kids going it's ice cream man. The ice cream man's coming. And then the ice cream truck pulls up outside the front of my house and stops right at my front lawn. And then this guy in a tight jacket and a Silence of the Lambs type mask with clown paint smeared all over his face, carrying a giant bloody knife, just starts slowly walking across the lawn towards me as all these kids are yelling, ice cream man! And the music's playing really loud. So I wake up, and this song is still playing on the radio. So then I start to hear kids out in the hallway of our house. And so I get out of bed. And it sounds like my mom's running a daycare center or something, because it's loud and there's a bunch of kids running around. So my room's at the end of the hall. So I walk down the hall. It's dark in the hall, but the lights are all on. It's 2 a.m. and I see kids running around out in the kitchen dining room area. And as I walk to the end of the hall, one of these kids bumps into me, and I look down at him, and he looks up at me. He doesn't have a face. He just has an empty black hole that goes out into nothing.
Oh, that did it.
And then I walk by and I realize all these kids, they have these empty black holes in their faces for faces. And I walk and I'm trying, Mom, what's going on here? Why are there kids in the house? And I look and I find my mom, and she's standing at the sink doing dishes, but she's just staring at the window in front of her face. And there's a dead rose or flower laying there. And she's staring at it. And I realize that her skin is pale and that her arms are in the water, and the water's all blood, and she's dead, and she's standing there staring at this thing. And I wake up, and Mr. Vain's playing on the radio station, and I'm actually awake now. But so now that song is my my nightmare song.
I think we know what music cue we're using today.
Yes, that's it.
I believe we need to get in and edit your dream. You have third act problems with your dream. It's too long.
The Hollywood exec in there, yeah.
No, it's amazing. So it goes on. So there's Do
I
you
woke up
so
like
do
three
you
times in the same spot to the same
Wow.
song on the radio.
Wow, I've had the wake up dreams, but I've only done the two, like the first fake wake up and then but you had what, 3, 4 of them?
Yeah, so he's
We're
dreaming
stopped-
within his dreams.
So yeah, I
He
woke
wa-
up
he's-
4 times total. Well, the first one I did, I knew I was in a dream because I was in a tourist shop and it was all really kind of generic and weird. And I kind of knew I was dreaming at that point. But then I woke up from that. But then I was in the ice cream truck part. And then I woke up and I was in the weird kids with whole faces part. And then I woke up and I was in real life.
Wow.
The Inception.
Holy smokes. I will tell a quick story and then I'll ask you a question and then we'll go to break and then we'll do our second thing. How's that for a transition?
Okay.
But here it is. You hear you never die in your dreams thing?
Yeah.
I call bullshit on that, man.
Yeah.
I died the other day. I was watching a construction something, I don't know, I was with a couple people and we're like, wow, that's weird. They're putting in a huge bridge. And then this giant piece of equipment tipped over and I was just under it and I started to run, but I couldn't run away. It was just huge. And I saw the big yellow side of this like giant crane come at me and it smushed me into the ground. And I went, well, I'm dead. And then I went, well, at least now I'll find out what it is all about. And then it was like about 10 seconds of me going, here it comes. And then my mind went, all right, wake up, idiot. And I woke myself up. But I was dead. I was 100% dead and was sure I was dead in my dreams. Have you ever died in your dreams?
I have not. It's always right up to the moment and never the actual death.
I've been shot. I remember the feeling of being shot in a dream. It was very strange. But I can't remember if I died in that dream. But I've killed somebody in a dream. That was one of the worst dreams I've ever had.
Oh, I've killed. This is a recurring dream. Is that I've killed.
Oh, that's
someone.
every night for Mike. That's every night for Mike.
Is that I've killed someone and that I'm
You call that a nightmare?
Yeah, I know. That's why you guys are calling it dreams.
And I'm covering it up, and I'm going to be found out. Like, you remember the time?
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
You killed that guy. Come on, So yeah, and then I wake myself up at that one. Like, I did not kill anyone.
Oh, Mike, this reminds me of a theory I have. Because I've never, I don't know if I've murdered, but I've done like terrible things in dreams before.
I don't know if I've murdered. Oh,
I don't know if I've
dreams.
murdered in my dream. No, I know I haven't murdered in real life. Well, not much. Yeah, I think I had a dream of where I commit these horrible sins. I don't remember exactly what they are. Probably involving extramarital things or something. But when I woke up, I felt guilty.
Yes.
And I wonder if dreams are ways that you kind of can check on yourself and see if your spirit is, you get this sense of guilt over kind of your fallenness.
Oh,
I wonder if that.
I think so. Yeah, I have, but the condemnation in the dreams of like the murder thing is like, all right, look, you played your hand too much here. I did not kill anyone. But yeah, I've had the other ones where it's just like, you're just a bad person. You've obviously done horrible, horrible things.
So dreams keep you in check.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. And that's why I guess I'm going to die by being crushed by a piece of earth moving equipment. And with that, let's take a little break. Well, I am terrified. Thank you for that, Ethan. That was Mr. Vane by Culture Beat.
Yeah, that's the song that gave me that huge nightmare.
I understand now that I hear it. I think you were right to be afraid of that. Yeah. Anyway, this is a new segment, and this is a fun segment. Ethan, take it away.
Let's just figure it's always nice to pass on advice that's helped you through life. So, advice you were given that you like to share that's stuck with you.
Doug, I know you have this at hand because you are a man with a lot of children. What is your advice? What do you pass on to them? What was good advice given to you?
Man, that's weird because my mind is just totally going blank on any good. Well, my dad, here's my dad's, the most common advice I remember from my dad is he'd go, there's 2 kinds of cars. kind that keep you broke and the kind that keep you in debt.
Wow.
It was kind of that's kind of a good fiscal warning.
So you've only had horses your entire life. You've never
only horses my whole life. Yeah, you guys go ahead. I'll try and think of one. I can't right now, just right off the top of my head, because I did no show prep. You guys are show prep, so let's see you throw down.
Just for the record, this is the second show that we're doing today. Now, you wouldn't know that if you're listening, and I'm assuming you're binging every episode, obviously, out there listening. This is the second show we did today, and Doug had the opportunity to do show prep for both and did not do it. So I'm prep shaming you, Doug.
It was almost a choice, though, because I'm so dumb that I assume I won't be able to find the document that you guys emailed to me, and it was right in front of my face. And I read it without knowing it was the show prep. So I read it, and I just didn't put it together that this was show prep. I just saw two sentences.
You understand that sentences convey information, right? When they come from the people with whom you're about to do a show?
I guess.
Maybe Doug never got the advice that would lead to him
reading.
Right. I'm sure some advice is coming to you guys right now for me.
There was a wise old man who once told me, always read your show prep and you'll never go wrong. He was a wizened old man with white eyebrows and little glasses, and just a lovely elf of a man.
He's probably dead now when he visits you in your dreams.
He's the one who's going to stab me, yes.
That's the guy, see?
It's
Mr. Vane.
Everything good turns back.
Yeah,
Mr. Vane.
Mr. Vane.
It's because he opens his vein and pours his blood on me before he stabs me. It's
the
worst.
He has a hole for a face. That sounds like an Earthworm Jim enemy. Hole for a face.
Oh my God!
I think I might have shared my main one in another episode.
Yeah, about the old men, because Ethan, we all know some old people. There's got to be some good wisdom.
Yeah, I think there was some of the good ones in that one.
I think for me, this is a terrible, terrible cliche, but I heard it when I was very young. Is I was going to I think I graduated. I think I've told this. I was graduated college, or I went to college when I was 16 years old, so I was too young to do it. But I went to visit colleges when I was like 15, and a guy who was a music teacher did the traditional, you do what you love, and you never have to work. And I remember that
guy.
As dumb as that is, it is kind of true that. Because I did a bunch of crap jobs. I mean, I did many, many crap jobs, which will be another episode entirely.
Oh, yeah, that's a segment. Crap jobs.
Yeah, we're going to do one of those. Yeah.
Oh, I have dozens and dozens of them. But I finally quit one when I remembered that guy saying that. And I knew it was a cliche, and I kind of laughed at him at the time. But then I was like, look, I do have to do something where I'm at least not going to slit my wrist when it's Sunday at noon and you go, oh, God, I have to go to work tomorrow. Ah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as bad as it was a piece of advice that I did follow. I quit a job that was just horrendous because I remembered that. And like, well, even if I'm doing something really, living in an outhouse and out in the woods and doing something that I like. So, as bad as it is, that was a good piece of advice. So there, take that.
I had a lot of advice on not going into debt. So this is just under fiscal, financial stuff that there's very few times in my life that I've ever been in debt. And I mean in rack up your credit card sort of way. So obviously everyone, when you buy a $200,000 house, you're going to go into debt. But just living month to month and week to week, even when Ange and I were very, very poor when we were first married, early 90s, it's like if we didn't have the money, we would not spend it. And I just think that advice, I don't remember who gave it to me, but it would probably be my dad. That kind of advice just has kept me out of a universe of trouble where I've seen my friends get into that kind of trouble of being out of financial control of your life. I see their misery, and I haven't experienced that, because when we're poor, we live poor, and when we're wealthy, we're saving to try and survive an inevitable poor circumstance that's coming in the future.
Yeah, I think one time, I remember, Doug, you and I talked about this. I think we compared years when I was freelance once. And sometimes when I say this, people are like, oh, I can't believe you would tell me this. It's like, why would I be embarrassed about this? I think one year I made $4,000 or something.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I don't want to say the number, but you have ups and downs, but it amounts to it amounts to a living. Somehow I scratch it out. But
that was my lowest in our first years. That was our lowest income, was about $4,200 a year we were living on.
I was freelancing.
Making it as a freelance artist. Were you doing stand up or were you doing a crap job? What were you?
I was trying to freelance. So yeah, I was doing both. But yeah, when Bridget and I first got married, I think there was we made it maybe 6 or 8 months on $300 a month, just like stand up and stuff like that. And people go, how could you possibly do this? I'm like, well, you live in a garbage place and you don't go anywhere and you don't eat anything and you don't have credit cards.
We were in Glendale. We were in that $1.5 million house, and there was 2 years in a row that I made $20,000 a year. And that just pretty much did us in. Like, you don't get a house anymore. It's like we had to sell it, lost all of our equity, just dumped it,
Yeah. Ethan, do you have no further advice? You're leaning on your old advice.
I don't know, some simple advice that kind of came about when Axe Cop happened to me, and I think this might have been from Doug. It was more just like a statement, but it was just, you can't pick your successes. Like that, you don't know you can be trying to be successful and whatever, but you don't really get to pick what it's going to be. And so that's one thing I pass on to a lot of artists when they think that it's going to be their giant Lord of the Rings ripoff that's been under their bed their whole life. And it's like, it might be that fart joke you make later on or something. Like you have no idea what it's going to be. Like I'm sure that none of us thought we'd be known today for the thing we're known for.
Right. Yeah, I do. I tell my kids that all the time. Yeah, as they're starting their lives. Like I said, I'll sit you down with a table of the 20 of my most successful friends, and they'll talk about what are you doing now? What is your success? What did you think you would be doing? And they'll all be. I mean, I know one guy who did what he thought that he was going to do, and he became an actuary. So. Yeah, that's how that works. But otherwise, everyone it was a crapshoot. Yeah, you can't pick it.
Yeah. Well, guess that's about
advice. It. Man, it's all kind of financial. We became, we're Dave Ramsey suddenly. It's the Dave Ramsey show. It's all funny.
I got to go in like 2 minutes because I got this room for this exact amount of time. So.
All right. That is going to stay in the episode. That moment of silence, the audience will not hear, but we are going to end it now.
Yeah. Thanks for chopping that out.
This is Audio Mullet, and give us a break, people. We're in 3 different states. We're in time zones apart, so we do the best we can
with limited talent. We have limited resources.
Oh my God! Limited talent, barely zero talent. Zero.
Pulling the bucket up the well, and it's full of like sand and scorpions.
All we have is the rich, deep wisdom that is Audio Mullet, and we'll be back with another episode. I'm Michael J. Nelson. Doug TenNapel is here, along with Ethan Nicolle. Say goodbye, you guys.
Bye.